Welcome to part 2 of episode 1 of Crochet Eve's Way. This is the continuation of our first class, Chain, Chain, Chain. And sorry that ended rather abruptly. We don't want these to get too long because I have DSL and they take forever to upload. Okay, I made you a sample swatch using only single crochets just to show you what your fabric can look like with just the 2 stitches you've learned today. You learned the chain, and you're going to learn single crochet. We started with a chain, see our tail right here, and I took that chain, turned it over, and into every one of those little purl bumps, I made what I'm about to teach you, a single crochet. And because I went through the purl bumps on the back, I've got this pretty V, those little hearts, on the front. You see what a nice border that makes. So far, I have worked 3 rows of single crochets. And I'm going to show you how to get started. But whenever I teach people in real life, not virtual classes, I always have samples ready, whether they're knitting or anything else, of the process already in motion. So they know how it feels, they know how it works without having to start at the hardest part, which is usually casting on or getting started. So I'm going to show you what I would be doing if you were here with me in the room. That would be, I would hand you this sample, and I would say, all right, let's work on the next row. As I've done a lot of teaching over the years, I really enjoy it. So what we're going to do, remember our chart that showed us how tall a single crochet is? How many chains is that? That's just 1. It's only 1 chain tall. So whenever you're going to make a bunch of stitches in a row, or the next thing you're going to do, you have 1 stitch that's the same height, okay? And it also counts as the first one. We're not going to put a single crochet right there because we already did the chain one, and that counts. So we spread apart our stitches to see what's going on, and that one went right there, didn't it? So the next one will go right there between the previous single crochets. So we did yarn round hook, yarn over, and we pulled up a loop. We pulled it up about the same height as our first loop. And don't worry too much about this yet if it looks a little wonky. Then yarn over hook again and pull it through those 2 loops. You just made a single crochet. Let's see where the next one goes. Pull them apart. We always work from right to left if you're right-handed. Okay, see? See that space? I think you've guessed where we're going to go. Right there. And that's under the 2 legs of the chain. The top of this stitch from the previous row looks like a chain. So you're going under both legs. Now there are stitches you're going to learn later where you'll go through only one, like through just the front loop or through just the back loop. And you can do a lot of cool things with that simple change. It makes it more stretchy, it makes a ridge, it makes lace. You can go from a base of a circle up, make a basket going up the sides. So that's really neat. So for now, we're just going to keep it plain. So again, we pulled it apart. The next obvious space is right there. We go through, we yarn around hook, pull up a loop, yarn around hook again, and pull it through. Next one, where is that? Right there, that obvious space. And you can see why it's good to use a plain, smooth yarn. Because if you had bumpy textured yarn, it might be kind of hard to see what's coming next. In fact, when I was teaching myself how to knit years ago, I didn't know any knitters. So I got a book by a really cool author, British guy, well, American expat Brit, named Kathy Fassett. And I did a tumbling block sweater for my husband in fuzzy mohair yarn, about 20 different colors, in intarsia knitting. And you knitters out there are going to go, what? And that is how I learned how to knit. So everything after that seemed so easy. So when I'm teaching people, I have them use the smoothest, easiest yarn they can with a little bounce to it so that you can, the stretch helps you to pull the loop through without too much effort. And again, you see how loose my hands are? No death grip. We've got our overhand butter knife hold, and I am tensioning the yarn through my fingers. Okay, here we go. We're getting near the end of our row here. Pull it through. And it reminds me of my first seam. I was learning to sew when I was about 9 years old. And my mom had this old singer somebody had given her. And so I'm in the room, me and the singer, making a seam in a top I was going to make, center back seam. And I was sweating, and the machine is making these bang, bang, bang sounds. My mother's like, what is that? And even the smell of burning rubber that you know, when you're abusing a machine. And I was like, Mom, sewing's hard. And she said, well, what'd you do? Well, I pulled my first seam through backwards. And it was full of knots, and it was wavy, and that was the beginning of my illustrious sewing career. And I did go on to become a designer and kind of an early Project Runway kind of person. So, you know, you could start off really goofy and go places. Okay, so here we are. We are at the end of the row, and you might think, well, where do I put the hook? This is a big problem that new crocheters have. It's like, is it there? Is it there? Because the beginning and end don't look like the middle. And that is an issue. Now, my previous row, this was a turning chain instead of a single crochet. So you basically have to find the top of that and put it in there and count your chains. And then, you know, if you pull straight up and everybody's lined up, you know you're good. And if we're going to do another row of single crochets, we only chain one, we turn, and we're ready to do it again. So that's how your single crochet fabric will look. It's solid, you know, like little stars maybe. And it's got a little bit of stretch, but this is basically a solid stitch. We use lacier, elongated stitches, like I showed you earlier, like doubles and triples, to stretch our stitches taller. And that adds more air and more loopiness. And so, but a single crochet fabric looks like this. So I will pause a second and I will show you how to get started on your first single crochet. Okay, I've ripped out that swatch, and that's real easy to do. I'll show you that in a minute. Ripping out in crochet, which you'll get to know really well, is your best friend. If it doesn't look right, rip it out, do it again. Okay, let's make our slip knot, which is, again, super easy. I'm making a loop. I even have to think about how I do it because I don't even think about it anymore. Just kind of pull it through and snug it up a bit. Just any way that you can to just get a basic little knot on there. Okay, let's say we're going to have our single crochet be 10 stitches wide. So let's do 10 stitches on our chain, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and remember, don't do this. Go the long way around. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if we wanted to be 10 stitches wide, when we turn the corner and come back, we need another stitch to turn with so that we don't use up that one. Okay, so that's our first stitch. And believe it or not, that little chain counts as our first single crochet. Okay, that's where we turn. Now again, there's our pretty chained edge, the little hearts. And we're going to go into the purl bump just so you learn right. Okay, learn the way you need to go on. Okay, so here is the purl bumps on the sides. And we are going to go into the first one right there. Okay. And that's why I usually get a swatch going for newbies, because it is a little bit harder to do this yourself the first time. Okay, I got a little bit split there. There we go. Yarn over, pull through. Okay, there's our first single. Now you might want to keep turning. So let's turn it the way you want to use it. Dink, there we go. There's the next purl bump. Let's insert the hook. It's a little wobbly at first, it's kind of strange. You go in, yarn around hook, pull up a loop, hold on to that as best you can, it's small. Yarn around hook, pull through, second single crochet made. Next purl bump, there it is. Go through just that one, pull through a loop, over, and through again. There's 3. Next one, there it is. Just put the hook through the one bump, bring it on through, there's 2, yarn over, pull through. Okay, next, there it is, there's your purl bump, pull it through, loop up, yarn over, pull through. Great. Next, sorry, got a notification. Didn't know how that happened. Okay, through the purl bump, and I split it, so let's try again. Because this is a cotton, we're going to have some splitting, but I've got my handy slot-shaped hook, which grabs all my little splitty ends, keeps them in line. Okay, next, alright, we're getting there. There's our next purl bump, and I promise you this is pretty much the hardest part, is getting started. And once you're started and you have something to hang on to, it's so much easier. From then on, you're just flying along. So even people who've been doing a long time don't really like this part of it that much. And there are other ways that you can start, but we will show you that a little later. Okay, last one. Can I just hold on the best I can? Pull it up and pull through. So there's your first row of single crochets, and that's what it looks like. The top has that chained look, and the bottom also does too, because we went through the purl bump on the back. Okay, so if you want to continue, this is going to be your homework. Okay, you're going to practice chaining with your fingers, then practice chaining with your hook. When you feel like you're chaining along pretty well, you're going to practice making single crochets. Start the row with a single loop pulled through a chain, because that's the same height as a single crochet is one chain. Okay, here we go. That counts as your first stitch, so don't put it in this very first one or you'll end up making this wide, wonky piece of fabric. Happens to new crocheters all the time. So remember, you just made your first single crochet when you made that chain. Okay? So it's going to be the next one. Let's pull them apart right there. Okay? And we'll keep going across the row, like I showed you on the earlier sample. So I don't want this to get too long for uploading purposes. So you are going to practice. This is going to be your homework. You're going to practice making chains with your fingers, chains with your hook, and then seeing how you do with a single crochet. And when we